Ball up!
I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Playing from the Tips, Golf Australia magazine's weekly preview and tipping podcast covering the week ahead's tournament golf from around the world and all the tours. I'm your host, Jimmy Emanuel, and this week myself and a few of our so-called experts will guide you through the action from the PGA Tour of Australasia, as well as the PGA and LPGA tours. Now let's meet the so-called experts along for the ride this week, making his third Playing from the Tips appearance. A man with a podcast network so vast, some have taken to calling him the Crown Prince of Golf Podcasting. Welcome, Rod Murray.
3 guest appearances in a row. I've made the cut 3 weeks in a row. I'm building a career here.
You are. It's a real middling tour pro career, I think.
I might just reach the dizzying heights of journeyman if I keep this up.
Anything particular in the world of golf catch your eye last week, Rod?
I was particularly interested, again, as Logue pointed out last week, in that golf course in India at the Hero Indian Open. You just can't watch that tournament and not think to yourself, this is golf on the moon. If we ever play on the moon, this is what it's going to look like. Just extraordinary.
You mentioned Adrian Logue, who failed to make the cut this week. So rounding out our trio attempting to enlighten and entertain you this week is the man at the helm of all things Golf Australia magazine, editor Brendan James. BJ, congratulations on your Playing from the Tips debut. What do you think you're going to bring to the table this week?
Not much.
You got a sheet of paper.
You've got a print out sheet of paper. That's
I've
the
got
most
a print out sheet of paper and
your spectacles case with the little cleaner in it. You've got
and I've got a copy of the magazine, which won't come in handy at all. But no, I hope that I can step into Logue shoes and fill them.
Enormous, and oddly shaped shoes.
I doubt Logue shoes would suit your sartorial style.
And I bring no path theories with me.
This is a path-free zone, I think.
Yeah,
we don't do the paths. He does get into the watches, some of the chess and some of the weirder things.
I haven't worn a watch for 30 years, so.
Me neither. Or a golf glove.
No, I've never worn a golf glove. No.
You, me, and Freddie Couples.
That's us.
Brothers.
Before we move ahead this week, a look back at the success or lack thereof of our tips last week. We had 4 top 10s to add to the total for 2023, which now sits at 5 wins and 32 top 10s, with the best finish of the week of T3 for Ataya Titikul by myself, one of 2 top 10s for me, while there was 1 apiece for Rod and Adrian. Now to this week, and we lead off with the 102nd New Zealand Open presented by Sky Sports, something of a rarity in the new world order of professional golf in it that it's tri-sanctioned. So PGA Tour of Australasia, Asian Tour and Japan Golf Tour coming together this week. Asian Tour and other tours don't necessarily play together that much given the live golf connection.
We're going to see less and less of this, aren't we?
Yeah, it's one of the very, very few that I can spot on any schedule that's tri-sanctioned this year. So it has a long history of tri-sanctioning, actually, the New Zealand Open, which comes back for the first time since 2020 due to COVID, and goes back to the Queenstown region where Brad Kennedy won the Brodie Breeze Trophy, which is a very classic and good trophy. We've spoken about trophies before here. And
no TPS trophy.
I don't like TPS trophies and live golf trophies. Brodie Breeze Trophy, proper trophy.
Name too attached to it.
Yeah, a legend of New Zealand golf. Kennedy had a final round 63 to win last time and also donned the spectacular feathered garment that the winner of the New Zealand Open gets, which is great for a shot on Getty Images, by the way. Now, Millbrook is the solo host this year, now that its new course, the Coronet course, designed by Scott McPherson and Greg Turner, is open and ready for play. Joins the Remarkables, designed by Bob Charles, as the other host course. Beautiful scenery, big part of the week. Nice and wide, plenty of undulation surrounding hills. Not surprising given the winter identity of the area as a skiing haven, something this trio knows absolutely nothing about, and thankfully for other skiers, I'd suggest.
I've been to this part of the world in winter, to Millbrook itself, in fact, on sort of a famil tour. It was a rort many years ago. And there were guys staying at the resort playing golf, They were going skiing in the morning. You could see the mountains from it, and playing golf in the afternoon. And at the start of winter, they would cut 3 holes in each green because they'd freeze up overnight. So you couldn't cut a new hole every day. And they just moved the pin between the 3 holes over the course of the winter. Hey, bit different.
Bit
There's
different.
no Mangrove Mountain, I'll tell you.
This is a Pro-Am format again this year, 156 players. They play each of the courses Thursday, Friday, cut to 60 in ties, 40 Pro-Am teams for Saturday. Then it's just 10 teams on the final day. When we get to field, noticeable absence is Ryan Fox, who gets his first start at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, having been a huge supporter of his home open and partnering often with the late, great Shane Warne. But that doesn't mean there's not others to keep an eye on.
Tough call for him, Jimmy. To miss his
massive.
National Open.
Yeah, massive. But he's going to get a start at Bay Hill and at the Players as well.
Can't blame
He
him.
can't, not really, after last year playing so well, missing President's Cup and stuff like that, which is partially to world rankings. I think there's a decision that Ryan's going to bigger and better things, so he may as well go and take the chance.
Which will, funnily enough, probably do at least as much for New Zealand golf
Absolutely.
as if he was to turn up and
Yeah,
play
absolutely.
the New Zealand Open. A tough spot for a player.
Absolutely. Defending champion Brad Kennedy headlines the list of players to watch. He thrives in this event. Multiple-time winner, but this is his first start of 2023. He's been having a rest and been a dance dad up in the Gold Coast of Queensland. Not really a concern for him. Mr. Consistent, even if he comes off a spell. Gearing up for senior tour golf, as he told Mark Hayes in the current issue of Golf Australia magazine. Last week's winner on the Aussie Tour, Brett Coletta, got a start only by winning the TPS Hunter Valley. Much deeper field this week, but still deserves attention. A promising youngster who sort of talked about giving the game away at one stage. Jeff Ogilvy has huge raps on Brett Coletta's golf game.
Right.
Was close to, Corn Ferry to PGA Tour sort of avenue a few years ago, and then came back home, but looks like he's found something. Same goes for Aaron Pike, who recorded a top 10 on his return home after a couple of weeks on the DP World Tour that was actually in Asia. Same for Reem Gibson, who plays again after somehow playing the TPS Hunter Valley after winning on the Corn Ferry Tour and finishing 5th, and is one of the world's great birdie makers in a Pro-Am field on a resort golf course.
Could shoot 56.
Could shoot.
He is one of that's golf addiction, isn't it?
Yeah.
A full season in the US, trying to get your card, come back and play the TPS Hunter Valley just because you're here and it's on.
Came back, played another event after he won, came back and played that, so didn't even get to go home to Lismore to see his family and friends, and then goes to New Zealand, and then will come back and then eventually get there.
It's a sickness.
You've got Order of Merit leader David Micheluzzi, who's on an absolute torrid run of golf, but admitted last week he let his frustrations get in the way, which is what he hasn't done this summer and which he previously did do, including at TPS Hunter Valley, where he had one of the great spits last year.
Well, expectations go up, don't they?
Yeah.
You play well for a period. You can't help but now your expectations go up. And so while you've been managing them really well, it's a different set of expectations all of a sudden, and you've got to learn that lesson all over again. I think it was Jones that said golf is a game where you just learn the same lessons over and over and over again.
Dave has this event circled as a big chance to just make the Order of Merit a done conclusion with a couple of events to go. So despite winning a couple of weeks ago, he was really looking at this one as a big chance to push ahead. We'll get a bit of a look at some Japan Tour players that we don't ever see on TV this week, which is always exciting, although the history of performing well in this event is not necessarily there. We don't get a lot of the bigger names out of Japan. I like Makuma Horikawa, who either misses cuts or contends. So
nice.
I'd say he might miss the cut or contend this week, which is an exciting prospect.
It's a case you could probably make in court.
Yeah, that's right. And then the Asian Tour gives us quite a few veterans, a couple of young players. Guys like Scott Henn, Zach Murray, a former winner here, Todd Sinnott, and one of the great names in golf, Gun Charanikul. Just outstanding.
Gun.
And not to be forgotten is local hero Steve Alker, who has made enough money since turning 50 he could front the prize money this week and not notice the bank balance hit. Genuine chance. Has played New Zealand Opens for as long as anyone can remember and just seems to love playing golf. Had a bit of a tough period of it. Lost his caddy to cancer very suddenly 2 weeks ago. But Steve Alker's a big chance, I think, to be
that only adds, don't you reckon, Beach? That adds to the potential for him to win this week, having lost his caddy who'd been through for a really special year for him last year. One of the best stories.
It'll either add to the achievement or it'll weigh on him that his long time caddy's not there.
Can't help but think of Ben Crenshaw at the Masters in '95.
Post Harvey Pinnock.
Post Harvey Pinnock the week before, carried the coffin the week before, and then stood up and won the tournament the next week. Those sorts of things tend to happen in golf. So I'd rate Alca a very good chance this week.
And now it's time for some tips. And given it's his debut, we may as well let BJ get us kicked off. Who do you like in New Zealand?
Well, you mentioned Brett Coletta there, and I couldn't help but really admire the way he went about it at Cypress Lakes. And he's now, with that win, he's not only obviously got the start now at the New Zealand Open, but it's also pushed up his chances of picking up one of those spots in the order of merit at the end of the season.
Which is what they're playing for. We're watching the week-to-week TPS.
Yeah.
The players are watching where they are on the order of merit to get one of those cards for next year.
Or even the other exemptions that come with tour school in Corn Ferry Tour finals, etc.
So, I mean, he's had a win, but he's had 5 top 10s in 11 starts.
Good.
So you've got to think he's going to be thereabouts. And I think if he gets a sniff, he could do what he did at Cypress Lakes and go low the final day and put himself right in the mix.
He's technically 5th in the chase for the 3 DP World Tour cards because you take out your Cam Smiths, your Minwoo Lees, and your Adam Scotts who won't play the required 4. Rod, who do you like?
I like Brett Coletta because I remember watching Brett Coletta at the New South Wales Open at not Twin Creeks, at Stonecutters Ridge. He might have been still an amateur at the time.
He would have been,
just turned professional, shot 61, if I recall, in the first round, which was his sort of announcement to the golf world. He'd been a known sort of an amateur. Incredibly impressive as an athlete. I can't remember who it was. Somebody nominated him. I think it was the Vic Institute of Sport, pound for pound, one of the best athletes in any of their programs. Strong, wiry, really impressive. And he, as you said, he had some issues. I think sort of mental issues, really, weren't they?
Correct.
Living on the road. So I really like him. I wouldn't be surprised with him. But I'm going to go with, I like the outsiders a bit better, Nick Flanagan.
Well, yeah.
Tied 5th last week in the Hunter Valley at home. Has seen all of the highs and lows of golf.
Absolutely.
Nick, and he's had a sort of period in his career, but he also finished tied 3rd here 3 years ago, the last time the tournament was played. And so he's clearly comfortable in the environment and the place, and it'd be a nice story to see him get up. Second last player to win the US Amateur. Curtis Luck won it obviously after him, but that was a huge deal when Nick Flanagan won the US Amateur. It's a massive achievement for an international player, and particularly a player from Australia, to win that. And he's a really likeable bloke.
He's a really good player. Yeah.
He's a really nice guy. And he can play. I mean, you don't make a living playing golf, which he's done. He's done it the hard way all those years if you don't know something about how to play. So he hasn't been a prolific winner, but it'd be a great story if he got up this week.
Very good. I'm going to go with Jordan Zunic. Took the week off last week. Hitting the golf ball magnificently well. If you can just work out how to roll the thing in the hole, it'd be half a chance. Won this tournament before, but has a significant leg up on the rest of the field because he's actually played the new course at Millbrook because his in-laws live right there. And Jordan spent Christmas and New Year over there with his wife Olivia and his in-laws and played a lot of golf on these golf courses.
There should be a handicap for that, shouldn't there?
Yeah.
If the tournament comes to your home course, you should be capped a couple of shots.
I did note somewhere on the website a quote about someone talking about how excited they are to play such a great new golf course when none of them have played it. But I think Jordan Zunic and maybe Michael Hendry, I don't know. But anyway, Jordan's my tip and should do well. Just needs to roll the thing in the hole, really.
He's a bit Allenby-like, I reckon, Zunic. He's got more natural talent in his pinky finger than most other players. He hits it amazing, but he gets in his own way all too often, Jordan. Everything for him is about upstairs. I mean, he was doing that work with Nick Ahern when he nearly won the PGA that year, lost to Cam Smith in the play. He played some incredible golf, but you watch him hit it, and he should be there. He's that class above the rest of the players in
To be honest,
the physical
there's probably 3 or 4 dozen guys that hit it as well, and it comes down to
maybe. Yeah, that's right. Well,
the work on the green.
As Bruce Young always likes to say, don't tell me that you played great but didn't putt well. If you didn't putt well, you didn't play great. No matter how well the game is of multiple factors, and all those facets have to work because it's a package, not one section or the other. So,
what about how easy Ian Triggs' job is when he shows up to tour events and he's teaching Elvis Smiley and Jordan Zunic, and you just stand on the range and go, well, why don't you just do that again?
That's right.
Pretty simple, right? Next, we head off to Florida, probably one of the more completely different areas to Queenstown in the world, for the Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard. And BJ, you're going to give us the lowdown on the PGA Tour's latest designated event.
Yes, the 4th designated PGA Tour event for 2023, a $20 million purse, which is up $8 million on last year's purse, which is a significant jump.
Just found in the console of
I
a
was going
car or
to say,
something.
because you don't go to Mastercard.
Put the hand
and say-
down the back of the lounge and what do you pull out? 8 million.
You don't go to Mastercard and say, oh, by the way, you got an extra 8 mil this year? You've got PGA Tour's clearly funded that. Yeah.
So not surprisingly, with that on offer, and also the requirement for the best players on the PGA Tour to front up to
It's
these
not a choice, is
designated
it? It's
events.
compulsory. They've got to play all of them. They get one off.
They get one off, yeah. So there's 44 of the top 150 in the official world golf ranking, if you want to call it that, including obviously world number one John Rahm. There's top 30 on the FedEx money lister there, and every PGA Tour winner this season. So it's a deep field. And, of course, Scotty Scheffler will be there defending his title. It's one of the more recognisable golf courses on the PGA Tour, designed by Dick Wilson, a bit of an Australian connection there, given that he designed some of the replacement holes at Metro in Melbourne back in the early 60s. And Wilson's work's been tweaked over the years, and the setup for Arnie's event is typically tough. Firm and fast greens, which seem to get faster every year, combined with a bit of wind, like we saw last year when Scheffler won. Bay Hill becomes an absolute brute. In fact, last year's 5 under winning score was only the second time in 11 years that the winner didn't reach double digits under par. So there were only 10 players that finished under par last year.
Pretty amazing in a field of PGA Tour players. You cannot stop these guys shooting under par. It's almost impossible.
That's
Only
right.
10 of them. That's amazing.
Scheffler's score of 5 under was,
that's tough golf.
And really grounded out the last 5-6 holes, just parring in.
So much water there, Beach. Even for good players, water can be intimidating.
Particularly over the closing stretch when the nerves are jangling. It's
kind of built around a big lake.
It's just such a severe punishment, water. It really, even for good players, that's why Sawgrass, TPC, the 17th at Sawgrass is so difficult. If it was bunker all around that green, most players would hit.
Well, there's no coming back from a water.
That's right, exactly. So it just plays with the mind.
You're out of the corner of your eye when you're standing over the ball. It's not a course for the course architecture aficionados. But it does, as you said, it does offer an exciting finish with water coming into play down the stretch. All that said, the course definitely suits the eye of some players. Who seemingly play well there every time they tee it up there. Of course, Tiger's won this event 8 times between 2000 and 2013. But there are others like Tyrrell Hatton, who was the winner in 2020. And was runner-up last year. Mark Leishman won there in 2017. He was the first recipient of the now famed red cardigan.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And was runner-up in 2020. And then there was Matt Every, who only has a couple of PGA Tour wins under his belt, and both of them came at Bay Hill.
Didn't Adam Scott gift one of those to him, maybe the first one, if I recall? Scott shot 61 or something in the first round, but I remember he made a 7 or a 9 on one of the par fours, just faffing about in the water like a 20 marker.
Yeah, and that would surprise me. If you look through the history of this event, there are guys that will go out and shoot the absolute lights out and not figure in the result.
Yeah.
Greg Norman's won. He's an equal. She has a course record of 61.
Isn't this where gamers hold from the fairway on 18? That was pretty good. Was that the start of the Norman snake bit theory? Or was that at the end? I can't remember what year
that was. 1991, I believe.
He'd already been snake bit a few times.
Yeah, and it was nearly 10 years earlier when Norman ripped that course apart. It was 62 actually, and just
figure.
faded over the next couple of days. There's quite a few Aussies in the field this week. The semi-resurgent Aaron Badley, Cam Davis, Jason Day, Lucas Herbert, who was tied 7th last year, Minwoo Lee, Adam Scott, as you mentioned, has got some history there, and Harrison Endicott is the second alternate. So fingers crossed that Harrison may get a start in what could be, the opportunity to cash, win some cash that sees him through to the end of the year.
That's a huge deal for a player, isn't it? I mean, potentially, if two blokes drop out, that would be a huge deal for Harrison Endicott, who's listed in the field in Puerto Rico.
Well, I think he'll be obviously going to Puerto Rico and playing that Open Championship rather than the Arnold Palmer Invitational, that storied history tournament.
But things turn on that sort of thing, don't they? Cam Smith got a start in the PGA Tour event that was played in Malaysia all those years ago because he was playing well on the Asian Tour.
IMB Classic, yeah.
Finished top 5, parlayed that into a start the following week on the US Tour, and here we are.
Yeah.
that is how it unfolded.
Yeah, absolutely.
He would have got there another way, obviously, Cam Smith was too, but that one sort of opportunity,
absolutely.
Harrison has a good week, who knows what that can lead to.
With the way these designated events work now, like BJ says, you cash that much money and you kind of secure yourself.
That's
and then
right.
he goes and freewheels for the year, and a non-designated event's the sort of thing Harrison could bob up and win, so.
Takes off so much pressure. And of course, there's no pressure if he does get a start because no one expects him to do anything.
No, that's right.
So fingers crossed.
And he actually is the kind of guy that could actually do quite well at Bay Hill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, then we'll watch that with interest.
Rod, who do you like at Bay Hill this week?
Funnily enough, I like Jason Day. BJ's right. It's a real horses for courses course here, like Augusta National. And Day's been top 10 last 3 starts, 2 of those in these designated events, where the fields are, frankly, as good as you're going to see any week on any tour, including majors. That's been pretty impressive. Now, he's not back to where he was, Jason Day, but I think he's far enough along the road that he could bob up and win an event.
That's 3 consecutive top 10s.
Yeah, absolutely. And top 10s really at this level are as close to winning as almost anything. You're really talking a couple of bounces here or there, or one shot.
Well, you might be talking as anything,
3-4 shots maybe over the course of a week. Yeah. So that tells you how close he is. But to do that 3 weeks in a row, this pattern that's emerging, and with each of those, he's getting more confidence. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if Jason Day was to bob up and grab it this week.
5 years since he last won.
I know. It's extraordinary. You can't believe it. And when he was winning, you remember that period when he was like the world number 1? You couldn't get enough money on him. He was going to win everything every week. Now, he's not back to that yet, but I don't think he's far enough along the road back to that he's certainly capable of pulling one out.
Spoke to him as part of an Australian media group last week, and you can tell he actually was really enjoying golf. And he's loving getting better.
That's huge.
And the thing that's impressive about him at the moment is that he's not even close to putting as good as he did when he was world number 1 and was the best putter on the planet. So he's doing it with his ball striking, which is more impressive and quite healthy as well. BJ, you got a tip for us here?
It's hard to go past Scotty Scheffler. Won a few weeks ago in Phoenix. Few tipped him to defend his title there. But looking back, few tipped him to win here last year, and he got the job done. I think Scheffler will win this week, and I'd really like to see him play in the final group on Sunday alongside Jason. I think that'd be a really good shootout down the stretch.
Can I say from my side, number 1, I'd like to identify myself as a new Eric Cole fan.
Nice.
Yep. Mini tour battler, but son of Laura Ball, who one of the best golf swings we've seen, and some of the worst signature golf clubs ever produced.
Best hair
Didn't know
on the LPGA Tour during the early 80s.
Yep. Just
and that would have been a competitive category.
Oh, yeah.
There was plenty of visor work with puffed up.
Yeah.
Yep. Outstanding.
Plenty of work going on there.
I think it's one of the 2 bigger Irishmen from both sides of the divide there. Shane Lowry plays well here, I think, this week, but maybe not quite. Rory McIlroy, completely forget the 2 results he's recorded where he didn't win or come in the top 10 recently. Tournaments he wouldn't normally necessarily play, golf courses that don't necessarily suit him. This place suits him down to the ground, home, in inverted commas, in Florida, and he is going to be right in it this week as he gears back up towards the Masters. He's going to have a couple of those weeks, I think, during these designated events where he doesn't have his best stuff, and that he still finishes close enough to the top is showing where his game's at. He's set for a huge year, and I think another win this week. And now, Rod, you're going to take the reins for the final 2 events, and let's look at the HSBC Women's World Championship in Singapore.
It's a bold name, isn't it? the Women's World Championship for a limited field event. You've got to respect that. That's really just putting your cards on the table. 66 players. Well, having said that, though, the field does kind of warrant the title. I mean, they are – Lexi Thompson's the only top 10 world-ranked player who's not in the field this week. So a little bit like what we're going to see at the Arnold Palmer. This is kind of the best of the best. They call it Asia's Major, which is there's been a few attempts at that, but I think the 66 players makes that a bit too light to be called a major, but the strength of the field, they're doing all right.
Yeah, you can call anything a major on the LPGA Tour, according to Evian.
Nice knife. Can you feel that knife just turning there?
Thanks for the sponsorship dollars.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Just played at the Sentosa Golf Club. There's two golf courses there. Most people will be familiar with the other course, the Serapong course, where they play the Men's Singapore Open. This is at the Tanjong course, which was basically blown up and completely rebuilt in 2016. The LPGA started playing there from 2017 on. It's a much better golf course for this sort of golf than it used to be. Greens have been made a lot smaller. All the bunkering has been moved. They played the Asia Pacific Amateur there in 2018, so the course really lends itself to it. The scoring is always good here. What's most interesting about that, though, the guy who did the redesign work, Andrew Johnston, he's also the director of agronomy and the GM at the club, and says all course architects should be forced to run one of their own golf courses for a year to see and appreciate what the day-to-day challenges are of what they've put in the ground. That'd be an interesting experiment, wouldn't it?
I'd love to see Mike Clayton on a greens mower at 5 a.m.
Listen, he's a tournament director. He'd be up at 5, so there's no drama with that.
Definitely awake.
He is a tournament director. Jin Young Ko is defending, as she is. Well, she'll spend a lot of 2023 defending because she won so much in 2022. She would be among the players to watch. For me, Lydia Ko and Nelly Korda both finished top 10 last week. Lydia Ko is in that John Rahm sort of space at the moment. You can't put enough money on her. So certainly don't write her off. Jin Young Ko had 8 under Sunday in Thailand, which tells me this week is going to be good. That's dangerous for the field. She hasn't been at her best for a couple of months, Jin Young Ko, but that says 8 under was the equal best round of the day with Lilian Vu, who won the tournament. It says
the wrist injury is not on her mind anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So Australians in the field, Hannah Green, Minjee Lee, neither did anything terrific last week, but who knows? Could bother. Hannah Green played well.
Hannah Green closed well on Sunday
last year. So it's it'll be a really good and interesting tournament. As the LPGA does so much, or used to do so much more often than the PGA Tour, now these designated events have sort of fixed that. We see more of the best of the best playing against each other more weeks on the LPGA Tour, which is why I think as a spectator it makes it, most weeks you turn on the LPGA, you'll have Lydia Ko and Brooke Henderson and Minjee Lee and a lot more of the big names. You get very few of those, what we had last week at the Honda, the real lesser-known sort of names. So, and this will be one of those as part of this Asian swing. So,
and have you got a player that you are going to tip outside there?
Leona Maguire. Better player than her record suggests yet, having only been on tour for 2 years, one win. She's a multiple LPGA winner in waiting, and every week that ticks by without her winning again brings her closer to her next win. So she's a good tip.
Do you have shares in Leona Maguire?
I don't, but having watched her up close at both the Vic Open and at Bonneville a couple of years ago when she was out here and sort of known but not really known, she was on the LET, hadn't made the LPGA yet. Really impressive player and a super smart and interesting and nice young woman. I interviewed her for our thing about golf. I know, for the ISEC Golf podcast at Bonneville. And she was really impressive in all ways. She had that maturity that tells you she's got the mind for the game. So, yes, if I could get shares in Leona Maguire,
because you do like to tip her.
I do like to tip her. She doesn't. Maybe I should stop. Maybe that's why she hasn't won.
She would probably like you to stop. I'd suggest
the weight of Rodney John Murray on the
is not insignificant.
Added to the bag is
Leona Maguire. What have you blokes got?
PJ, I'll let you go first.
Well, whenever they go to Singapore, whether it's the men or the women, I always like to look at the weather app first.
Oh, this is the sort of research.
Deep research here.
This is research I don't do.
Because there's a real big chance that it's going to be a heavy track. And yes, this week it's going to be a heavy track. There's heavy rain expected in Singapore from today. We're recording here on Tuesday through to Thursday, which is going to take a lot of the sting out of that golf course. Despite the fact that they spent millions of dollars on the drainage there, won't matter a bit because it will be
torrential. If it's going to rain in
Absolutely,
Singapore,
there'll be no
it'll rain.
run whatsoever, and they'll have to have three days of sunshine before there's any run on that golf course, which plays right into the hands of Marja Stark.
Yep. Yeah, along with that.
Big hitting suite, coming off a win, tie second in the past 2 starts. Massive chance to win this event.
Extraordinary talent. She's
Great.
extraordinary talent.
Great talent.
Extraordinary talent. Has she got a new caddy this year? When she played here in Australia last year, I think she won the New South Wales Open. No disrespect to the girl she had caddying for. They were clearly good friends. But she looked like one of those players who was just a professional caddy away from being unbelievable. The talent was off the charts. It was just some of the decision. A little bit like Minwoo Lee when he first turned pro. He found a couple of caddies over time that have really helped his game, I think. She looks to me like one who, so I don't know whether she's got a full-time professional caddy this year, but that looked like the only missing piece in her game, I thought, Marja Stark.
For me, I'm sticking with what I did last week and going with the Taya Titikul, who played really, really well last week, particularly on Sunday. No Thai player has ever won here, despite the list of very good players they've had. Been quite Korean dominant, the winners list in Singapore. But I think she can break that trend. She is quietly going about being one of the best players in the world because there's all the Lydia Ko attention. You get to America, you get Nelly Korda, you get all that sort of stuff. And then players like Jin Young Ko coming back. She is going to have a really big year. And
Why do you reckon that is? It's interesting, isn't it? Because she's got the runs on the board. She's ranked 3 in the world now or something. And yet we almost, I know I talk about it a lot, but you almost never hear people talking about her the way they talk about other players. And she's been extraordinary since she was, she's still the youngest ever player to win a professional tournament. She won at the age of 14 on the LET, I think.
Oh, that, yeah.
I think she was younger than Lydia Ko when she won the New South Wales Open here.
It might have something to do with the fact that she hasn't got like a standout killer blow. Like she's not.
Doesn't hit it miles. Like
she doesn't hit it miles. She doesn't hole every single putt she looks at.
Park, yeah.
But the entire game is so well rounded
it's magnificent.
that there's no standout. There's no shiny bits.
Right.
To go, oh, look at that.
And she's not a huge personality. She's always very bubbly and happy and pleasant on the course, but she's not a huge personality, is she? She doesn't
no.
get Christy Kerr thing.
I mean, for example, last week, she made 4 bogeys across the entire week and hit a lot of greens, about 29, 30 putts a day, most fairways, miss a couple. She's not going to make any big mistakes. She's going to just sort of plod her way around the golf course, and if the putter gets hot, she's going to win. But yeah, she doesn't have something that seems to drag all the attention. But it's a competitive field to get attention on the LPGA Tour for a variety of different reasons of personality. So I think she's still sort of coming into her own playing the LPGA Tour as well. And so, yeah, it's going to be a tough week likely with that weather as well. You like a player like that who's just going to find fairways and greens and isn't short by any means, isn't long by any means, but kind of that prototypical LPGA player to have a pretty long and successful career.
Really steady personality. Yeah,
finally, we head to Puerto Rico for the PGA Tour's Puerto Rico Open.
Puerto Rico, these opposite field events are always interesting. There's the tournament within the tournament. If you're a deep, hardcore golf fan, there's great stuff to watch in here for a couple of reasons. One, you've got a bunch of young guys. This is essentially a 2022 Corn Ferry Tour elevated event. All the graduates from the Corn Ferry Tour who've made it to the tour. The field is full of those kind of guys. So you'll get some really interesting golf and impressive golf. They'll all be in their comfort zone. But I'm more interested for those of us of a certain vintage in some of the names who get a start in these secondary tours.
Yeah.
Let me run you through
I believe you just missed out, Jimmy.
Yeah. Jimmy would have been a champ.
I would have been on the plane, but I got a few things on this week. So
Carlos Franco.
Outstanding. It's always a good week when Carlos gets a start.
KJ Choi.
The tank.
Daniel Chopra. Carl Pedersen. Kevin Stadler. These are just some I've picked out. Omar Uresti, the world's greatest club professional. Hey?
Yeah.
And Boo Weekley, which is remarkable. I haven't heard of Boo since he visited Australia, 5 or 6 years ago?
I thought he'd been taken by a croc.
Yeah. So
you have missed one in that.
I haven't. Well, I have. Okay, tell me who I've missed.
Frank Licklider.
Well, he's first alternate. Well, got him on my list.
Yeah, but I think he's a chance because, like an Endicott might get in an Arnold Palmer Invitational, and Frank Licklider will set a course record for most heaters smoked in Puerto Rico per round. So,
best known, sadly, Frank, for being charged for pulling a knife on a bloke in 1997 in a bar, which was. I couldn't find what the result. He was charged. I don't know what the result of all of that ended.
One of the purest ball strikers.
Is that right?
Ever to play golf.
Great name, too.
Just unbelievable with irons, just like stop and watch sort of stuff. Disappointing given the amount of invites here. Drew Love doesn't get a start, but he is playing in New Zealand.
He's playing in New Zealand, which is, you want to look at the interesting. We should have a category for most interesting player in the field each week for the various tournaments. But there you go. So for those of us of a certain vintage, it'll be like we've turned the TV back on in the mid-2000s watching some of those players. At the other end of the spectrum, which is where you'd think the winners are going to come from, some really interesting young talent. Akshay Bhatia. Did I pronounce that right, Jimmy? He's one of your
Close.
generation. How do you pronounce it?
I'm not going to try, but that was close.
So how do you know if it's close or not? Really impressive young left-hander, made the news, obviously, for taking his shirt off twice, was it, last week?
Yeah.
To hit balls out of the water.
Also, the Golf Australia Magazine caption competition this week.
So is it? There you go.
Go
So,
enter and try and win some golf balls.
Corn Ferry Tour winner. He's played 3 PGA Tour events this year, made the cut in all 3, hasn't done anything amazing. He's a guy who could bob up somewhere like this. And all the cool kids seem to really like him. So
a bit of a darling of the PGA Tour social media team.
Yeah,
so he's got a bit of a profile so far.
So, doesn't he travel with his girlfriend in a
girlfriend
van or something?
She won on the Corn Ferry Tour,
So, look, so he's an interesting
Left-handed.
I mean, he could walk off the tour tomorrow and be modelling.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't need to. He was modelling already at the Weekend Beach. No need to walk off the tour.
I'm
Who
glad
knows what the endorsement arrangement was there?
I hope if this week, if there's any player that needs to take their shirt off, it's Akshay and not Carl Pedersen
Or Kevin Stadler. And if Kevin and Carl, if you're listening, I look like you, so don't worry about it. You're allowed to say. Wasn't Kevin Stadler in the US Open group? They complained. There was Kevin Stadler, the bloke from Zimbabwe, Brendan de Jong, and somebody else, and it was the heavyweight group, because the USGA used to do those funky pairings, and they were the heavyweight group, and one of them complained about it. I can't remember who the third member of that was. But yes, they're all in the XL aisle when it comes to shopping for shirts. The course here, really exposed to the wind. It really can blow. You can get 2 different golf courses depending on the wind, so that tends to make it interesting coming down the stretch. Last year's winner, Ryan Brem, was one of those nice stories you like to see at these events. We've all forgotten it, but it was his last start on a medical exemption. He had to win or finish solo second to earn enough to keep his card, and he won with his wife carrying the bag. So
nice.
That's the sort of stuff you'll see here. It won't make the Channel 7 news over here, but if you're a hardcore golf fan, there'll be some interesting stuff to see. Australians in the field, Greg Chalmers, Harrison Endicott at this stage, Jeff Ogilvy and Cameron Percy. Tip?
Yeah, who do you like?
Ryan Gerard or Gerard finished 4th at the Honda, and almost unknown. This is only his 3rd start as a professional, but 4th at the Honda was a pretty good result. Who knows? He'll be a long shot, I would imagine.
I imagine the whole field's long shots,
Yeah,
because
that's right.
people
Throw a
say the
dart.
odds haven't heard of some of them for a long time or ever.
Throw a
So
dart.
that's probably a fair assessment. There's a lot of names that will be familiar but unfamiliar for their recent play, so that's fair.
Ogilvy, by the way, has been playing some decent golf.
He has,
as
yeah.
we discussed yesterday.
Yeah,
over a
absolutely.
coffee.
Yeah. Some just amazing names in there. Ryuji Yamada.
I know.
Like, just, so good.
Did I see Arjun Atwal was in there?
Arjun Atwal,
Arjun Atwal.
Getting onto the Champions Tour has the Indian golf press very excited, as they told me in Thailand at the end of last year. BJ, have you got a tip for us that's going to enlighten us?
Eric Van Rooyen.
Nice.
He's missed 12 cuts in his past 21 tournaments.
Due. Justin Rose. Waiting to happen.
That's why I'm tipping him this week. And the fact is, now that his Annus Horribilis is done.
PGA Tour winner? Did he win on the tour?
Yeah.
Yeah. He finished tied 6th at the American Express last month. Hasn't done quite that well since, but I think that might have been the turning point. And to get him into a field, let's just say it's a pretty ordinary field.
He'll feel like he should win this week.
He'll feel like he should win this week. I mean, the last time we saw some of his best work was when he destroyed that tee at the PGA Championship.
Yeah, that was some fine.
And that's going back a couple of years now.
Yeah. Very good work.
So, yeah, Eric Van Rooyen.
Good on you, Eric.
Can get the job done this week.
I like it. A little bit disappointed none of us have opted for France's Martin Trainer, who wasn't France's Martin Trainer, who was America's Martin Trainer until this year because he's trying to get an
I
Olympic
thought
spot.
you were saying his name was Francis.
No,
I don't know any
France.
golfers called Francis. So from France, Martin Trainer.
From
what happened
France.
there?
I was with you there. I thought,
Is he-
who's Francis?
France.
He's done a Sabatini.
Now
has he?
playing under the French flag. Martin
How does that
Trainer.
happen? Do we know?
I have no idea.
Married into that? Or
No, I
have
don't
dual
believe
passport,
so.
Or?
Yeah. Just
Why would you do that?
one of the vagaries of these sorts of events that
An
I
Olympic
really
thing,
enjoy.
perhaps?
Who knows? Yeah, I think it's Olympics.
Who are some of the great? Like we've had Rory Sabatini's now Czech Republic. We had Andre Stoltz was Swiss.
Stoltz?
Stoltz
he?
played under the Swiss
Played a
flag.
World Cup of golf or something.
Tried to get into the World Cup.
Nice work.
I tried to convince Dimmy Papadakis and James Nitties to turn to Greek allegiance before the World Cup of Golf at Metropolitan in 2018.
Yeah. Or the
But a
Olympic.
couple of South African guys did it instead.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will tip Hank Lebioda this week. Former housemate of Curtis Luck.
Yep.
Showed some good golf at different times. He's actually a better player than sort of he's shown, I think, and a really good ball striker and sort of guy who's going to play these events probably more than he would like to, but eventually will snag one. So
Left-hander?
left-handed indeed. Great visor wearer too, Hank.
Yeah.
So, and like we mentioned him before, Jeff Ogilvy, I think is a bit of a chance to actually record something good.
It's exactly the sort of place where he could bob up, isn't it?
Yeah.
No expectations, and he's been playing some pretty strong fields on some pretty difficult golf courses the last few weeks. So.
And Cam Percy played well last week, actually. At
He's
Honda,
a serious campaigner. Chalmers was second here through 36 holes last year. Just saying.
There we
I
go.
don't want to say where he finished, but he was second through 36 holes. So,
And according to his Twitter account, he's got a big fan base in Puerto Rico.
you would do.
He's got a big fan
I tell you,
base
he's got a big fan base. He's Rafael Campos, the only Puerto Rican in the field. Finished tied third here a couple of years ago. That's been his only standout result. Tends to miss the cup, but there'll be a lot of support for Rafael if he can get it going.
Nice.
Including me. I'd get on the Rafael train if it starts going.
I'm sure you would. That's a nice nugget to finish on. That's it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed it and learned something ahead of this week's golf that might even give you a chance to tip a winner. For all the action from all these tournaments and more, visit our website, golfaustralia.com.au, where you can also go in the draw to win $5,000 worth of Titleist golf gear by voting for Australia's greatest golf holes. That's golfaustralia.com.au.